All right, so I'm going to go over the webcam 60 frame per second issue that I had with my camera. Maybe it's something someone else is having. If I open up the webcam with the connector and I hit A for advanced settings, a couple windows are going to pop up. First is this one, and I've got the FPS set to 60. Now, if you don't get 60, it's not going to force it to 60 necessarily. It's just going to, if I want to, it really only works for below. If I want to fix it lower than what my max is, it's going to do that. But if I slide this with it open, you're going to get a white screen. It's going to want you to restart. I'm going to hit OK and hit A to close it, and we'll stop and start this again. Override FPS to 30. So even though I can get 60, now it's going to override to 30. It's going to keep it down there. So it doesn't really overwrite it or bump it up. I can't put 400 and suddenly have 400. But let's go back here again. I'm going to change that to 60 as my top. I'm going to hit A, close out of it to save, and I'll start it up again. For me, my camera is 60 frames per second at 720p. So there's a couple of things that I did for mine. You can see up here my height and width I fixed to 720 for 720p. And when I hit the A key here, I also have this MJPEG set at 1. That needs to be turned on. That's the way that the video is encoded. Next, something that changes my ability to have 60 frames per second and is very important. The only auto I have on this side is the white balance. I do have my gain all the way up. You can see that helps me track the ball better. It gives me some more brightness. But if I go to the camera control side, I have auto turned off on all this, especially low light compensation is turned off. My camera doesn't pan and tilt, so these could be 0. It doesn't matter. But as I raise exposure, I'm going to go to 5. Watch. My picture gets brighter, but watch my frames drop significantly. And it changes even the way I'll hit the D key. It changes the way that mask reads. You see, so now it's reading the cup at the end, which is just a putting cup, as part of the range value because I've brightened up the screen so much. It's going to give false positives and false putts for, in that instance here. I'll drag over to my other screen so you can see it. So if I go up to, let's say, -4 for exposure, I'm now down to 33 frames. If I go all the way up to -2, I'm going to max out at about 20 frames, 18 frames. So let's go back down, -3. I'm getting a bit more. If I go to like -8, the 60 pops up really quick. So that's, it's how much I really, what I figured out is 6 at -6 is really as bright as I can go, and I get about 58 frames. And once I go to 5, I fall off. I can't get there. But if I don't have this box set up for 720p, in my case, that's my camera, 720p at 60 frames per second. All other configurations, my camera is only 30 frames per second. It doesn't work for me. So I'm going to hit apply and we'll just keep it there. The other thing that I changed was contrast. I upped my contrast a little bit, but one thing, if you're having trouble with the ball tracking, and I have a little flicker here, I'm going to actually need to fine tune my colors a little bit today. What I might need to do is just take out some of this top value to get rid of white. There we go. That's better for me. I don't want that cup to flicker there. and what you're seeing on my instance is this down here. Okay, back to the 60 frame per second thing. So I'll hit OK. How did I get the, if I go back to the top of my log file here, how did I get this 720 by 1280? Inside of my MLM2 Pro folder, there is a config.ini file. And if you just open it up with Notepad, right here, you can set your height and width. Okay, so height 720 with 1280. You really don't need any more definition than that unless maybe your camera provides it and you want to, but that seemed to work for me. And then this window opens at a different size. The other thing that limited my frames, and I'm going to do this, live here to see if it actually takes place, is this is actually mirrored to where I putt. So when I walk up to putt, I'm right-handed, and this actually shows up mirrored. So it looks funny to actually view this, but what I figured out was, and again, I'm going to close out of the putting here and go to this setting, camera settings, manage cameras right here. If I go to Logitech Brio, I really would like this to be flipped 180, and I had it set there. I had it set to be flipped to 180 degrees, so it's like this, and that's actually the way that I putt, and it makes me look right-handed in the video. So I flipped it there in the camera settings, and let me open up the connector again. Oh, actually, I've already got it open. Let me open up the webcam putting again here. And what you'll see is with my camera flipped, my frames are way down. They're at like 10. And I was barely getting, I was actually getting 30, but since I've adjusted this window to 720p versus the way that it was, me just having the camera flipped in the settings, because, if I hit A and I flip the image here and flip it here, that's how I want it to look. That where if I walk over to a putt, that looks real to me, and I'll go stand up there and show you. That's a right-handed putt for me. But I was limited at 30 frames with that. So it turns out that the biggest thing I needed to do, and I'll hit OK here, and we'll close out of this. All my settings are going to be backwards now, but if I go to manage cameras and go to my Logitech and make sure that I have no rotation, even though it's going to show up backwards for me because I mounted my camera the wrong direction. I now get 60 frames per second. So when I hit D, there's my mask. I'm going to roll the ball down. And I'm getting 60 frames. So I don't know if that'll help you. I don't know if that'll work for you, but those are the things I would try. Hit your A key and go to your camera settings. Check your camera controls. Make sure you don't have any autos, and really take a look at this exposure. It's going to change your color settings completely, but also make sure you don't have low light compensation on. And then lastly, if you have anything like, I'm going to close out of these, hit A to save, hit D to save, and then I'm just going to close out by hitting Q. We'll stop. If you have anything like G-Hub, Logitech G-Hub is what I have that runs my cameras, open that up and make sure the settings are right in there as well.